welcome back to the Washington Outsider Report on the Coalition Radio. For those newly joining the program, my name is Irina Zuckerman, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the Washington Outsider. Joining us today to discuss the current situation facing the Kurdish communities in the region is Professor Soran Tarkhani. He's the assistant professor of political science at Hampton University. He teaches public policy, U.S. government, local national government, Middle East politics, former USSR and Eastern European politics, as well as global politics, and he's done work on ethnic conflict resolution, Kurdish studies, and other broader Middle East politics, and former USSR studies, and fluent in Kurdish, Arabic, Russian, English, and Farsi, which means that he is able to look at the sources from all the relevant entities in the region and actors, and to analyze them and understand the broader picture of what's going on. So the framework for our discussion is, of course, what we have seen in the last few weeks, which is the collapse of U.S. support for SDF and adjacent political infrastructure, the attacks that drove the Kurdish fighters, but also forced Kurdish community members, families to flee from several cities across Syria, the breakout of various ISIS prisoners, men and now more lately women, from the camps in northeastern Syria, where they were supervised by SDF as per international agreement, and the decision by the United States to transfer the remaining prisoners to Iraq to stand trial. And in this context, there is also increasing obvious intent of the U.S. to withdraw the remnants of its forces from Syria altogether, leaving broad questions about the future of the Kurdish and other ethnic groups in Syria, the future of the al-Shabaab government, and the security perimeter in Iraq, Syria, and the broader region as well. So this is the context in which we'll have our discussion today, and I'd like to actually start by asking Dr. Tarkhani to introduce himself a little bit more, to ask about his background and experience and how he ended up teaching this area and his broader perspective on the event, and then I'll ask questions about that.
Okay. Do you want to introduce myself, right?
Yes, to tell us a little bit more about you.
So I born in Kurdish part of Iraq, near border of Iran, and the city they call Derbandi Khan. I actually, when there was the Iran-Iraq war, we escaped to a village between the Kalar and Derbandi Khan. There are two towns, and there I witnessed the Anfal campaign in 1988. So, and then we, if you live as a Kurd in that region, you basically get the idea that there's a problem, and you trying to understand. So that was the main reason I picked actually political science over other majors when I finished high school. I finished my bachelor's in Iraq in Salahuddin University in Erbil. And then I got the scholarship, went to Russia. I finished my master's there. And I came here with scholarship to finish my PhD. My specialty is basically ethnic conflicts. So I'm interested in anything related to ethnic conflicts, but I also pay a close attention to ethnic parties and their relations, because in my opinion, they are the driver of ethnic conflicts. I also interest in the Middle Eastern politics in general, and also former USSR politics, especially when it comes to the ethnic conflicts. Here I taught a variety of classes. Some of them was based on the fact that It was my major. For instance, anything related to the comparative politics and international relations, I taught based on my specialty, and special courses on, let's say, uh, East European countries or the Middle Eastern politics. Those courses I taught based on my specialty. And I am very much interested in American politics as well. That's why I teach all the American politics classes here in Hampton University.
Well, thank you so much for this insight. Um, so I'd like to start um, by asking a clarifying question because there is a lot of confusing information coming out of the region, and quite frankly, not a lot of clarity from the US media other than simply restating American official statements. So we have seen that for years, the SDF served as the primary ground force against ISIS. And only recently, within the last few weeks, there has been a US strike on ISIS attackers in Syria. So in that light, how should we understand the SDF's position today? Is it a defeated actor? Is it a transitional force? Is it a deliberately sidelined partner? What is it considered a militia? Are they going to give up and integrate completely into the Syrian army? Are they going to function as a sort of peripheral, transient, semi-autonomous authority? What are we to make of the current situation?
In my opinion, the third option is correct. The uh, the as the Tom Barak said, the ambassador of United States for Turkey, said that we our job or our relationship with the SDF ended because we had the mission, and that mission ended because now we have a Syrian government to do this mission for us. So our
Mhm,
Syrian government approved that. So they are a partner who fight ISIS. And to be honest, it's a right position for United States because central government, especially Al-Shara government, has more knowledge and connection to find ISIS and to deal with ISIS, especially considering most of the ISIS in the area that today's Syrian government controlled. So the strategical move by the United States can be understood in terms of the practicality.
hmm,
But uh, disregarding SDF as the uh, force in the ground, and disconsidering the history for at least 10 years fighting ISIS, is just disheartening, even for those who don't know the situation. So the future of SDF, in my opinion, or actually just also based of the observation, you can see there's a mistrust. So it's unlikely they will disarm.
mhm,
The best option that General Mazloum proposed is they stay as the unit within the Iraqi army. So it's
mhm,
not the same situation. So forgive me, Syrian army. It's not the same situation as the Kurdish in Iraq, because Kurdish in Iraq they have their own forces,
mhm,
Peshmerga. But in Syria they cannot. At this moment they are unable to achieve that. And other uh, options they have, or other achievement probably they will be able to achieve, is the rule in their own area.
mhm,
We know for sure that the idea of coexisting our democratic confederation that the SDF believe it collapsed after the uh, Arabic tribes attacked the Kurdish forces just
mhm,
week ago. So that means they, as the SDF and Kurdish in Syria, they gave up the idea of coexisting.
mhm,
Uh, and due to the high level of honesty and also the hatred, as you can see even in those short videos cutting the braids of the female fighters, throwing the female fighters on the
Mhm.
roof after killing them, or dismembering the dead people, and so forth. So this it's a high level, is extraordinary level of the hatred. So it's impossible. You just come first step. It would be
Mhm.
uh, like an integration. There should be some sort of the physical separation at this
Mhm.
moment uh, to prevent any further escalation between the Arabs at least and Kurds.
Now, in terms of lessons going forward for other people in the area, what does the collapse of sustained US support say about the durability of counterterrorism partnerships that rely on non-state actors?
So can you explain that in a little more? So what you
What
mean
I'm
that what?
saying is, given that US essentially finished its support for SDF precisely because it feels it has access to a state actor, does this mean that it makes no sense for non-state actors to engage with the US or other countries on counterterrorism operations, given that in all likelihood they will eventually be abandoned?
Yes, yes, that's true. And just to just take the geopolitical standpoint, the United States will achieve more than uh, they can achieve with the SDF, where if which they already did, switch to the Syrian government, because they will make the Turkey happy, and they also they have a direct relationship with the central government, which is more diplomatic and more acceptable in the international level. And as I said, they are also can get more. They can achieve more goals. Just for your information, since 2025. Syrian government and United States carried out 24 operations, joint operations. Among them, they able to capture uh, one level of the ISIS fighters that Kurdish or SDF unable to target, which is middle actors. By middle actors means the people who recruit others for the ISIS.
Mhm.
That's the only way you to able to access to them is you have a connection. The
Mm,
Kurdish, because they especially SDF, they hold a different ideology, different perspective. They
mhm,
couldn't have the access to the ISIS cells, but
mhm,
uh, but the Syrian government, because there's like at least 27 uh, armed groups, they have access to former or to those cells, to those let's say organization, that level of organization, middleman of organization, so they can access to that, which is the what the United States want to get. So those middle men, they are one who know where the leaders
mm,
are, because
mhm,
they are the connection between the fighters and the leaders. That's why just in January, like a seventh, they able
mhm,
to kill one of the major leaders of ISIS. So that
mhm,
gives the US also confidence that doing this partnership it's more rewarding than doing the partnership with the SDF. And unfortunately, as far as we know, the United States, either it's because of Tom Barak's let's say background as being Middle Eastern, uh, or because that's US's perspective based on their grand strategies that they don't want to involve in the any conflicts directly, so they will abandon SDF, and they already did.
mhm.
So abandoning for them is not a big deal, because they will achieve uh, their objectives in another way.
But given this circumstance, what happens if that partnership with Al-Shara does not work out for whatever reason, whether if Al-Shara himself gets killed or ousted, whether because he betrays the United States or whether he's not able to fully assist in the same way as he had hoped for, does that mean that other groups will no longer uh, given this circumstance, will be more reluctant to engage in counterterrorism? After all, if their support is bound to be temporary and very transactional and uh, li- time limited and circumstantial, why would people invest their energy and assist the US?
We have to understand the uh, position of Kurds. Kurds are
Mm-hmm,
stateless people. So
mm-hmm,
they look like the person who's drowning and try to get hold of anything just
mm-hmm,
to avoid being drowning. So that's the
mm-hmm,
different situation Kurdish has. But uh, definitely, this will be a good lesson for the SDF. They will be much more careful in doing any deal with the or any other groups at the region doing any deal with the United States because it gives them um, in, like uh, a view or perspective that the United States will not honor their let's say agreements. But also don't forget that even though uh, the people around Ahmad Shara they already attacked the U.S. Personals, especially if you remember, a couple at the end of the 2025, there was the
mm-hmm,
suicide attack, and I think they killed. U.S. personnel, military personnel, and even that we still have uh, we still see the United States abandons SDF and also tighten their relationship with the Syrian government. But we also should remember, this is what I see. I think that in international relations or in political science, sometimes we pay a lot of attention to the characters, the players. So imagine if it's not Tom Barak, if it's someone else, because Tom Barak has the very negative view on the federalism, on the giving the
mm-hmm,
people who hate each other or has a history of the violence, separate them. So because Tom Barak has the background in Lebanon and he saw the ethnic war in Lebanon, he
mm-hmm,
thinks that it's the wrong option to separate people.
hmm, hmm. That makes sense,
Yeah.
given his experience at least, even if Syria is not has a different situation. So here's my question. Was the SDF role in detaining these ISIS fighters that are now partially released or being transferred to Iraq ever meant to be temporary? Or was the issue always that the international community quietly outsourced a permanent burden without having an endgame? The reason I'm asking this is because today it's ISIS, tomorrow it could be another group.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, some of Sharaf's people could abandon him and join ISIS again, or ISIS people decide to join the government and sabotage the operations from within, or
Mhm.
it's another group can become more powerful, Al Qaeda or some one of the 10,000 militias that's roaming around. They could gain power and rename themselves. So at the end of the day, the power dynamics is the same, but the strategy is what we need to look at. So was there ever an end game to what the international community did with those fighters? Was it ever going to be a workable approach?
Uh, if not for the new administration of the United States, we probably had a different approach, and we
Hmm.
expected to have a different approach. Uh, but since this administration, their grand strategy is not involvement outside. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to emphasize on this. I know it could be a disappointing, but their strategy. They do not want to involve, so they will. That's what the President Trump said. If the ISIS showed up again, we strike them again.
Hmm.
But the problem is the ISIS is not just those who uh, identified as ISIS. We have a lot of from those 27 organized groups that work under the Sharia government. At least seven of them are more radical than ISIS.
Hmm.
And more radical than ISIS. So you see also if you follow the news, we have a guy went to the gate of the between the Syria and Iraq, and he placed the ISIS flag there just like a couple
Mm-hmm.
days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of those militias that with the Sharia government, they have ISIS patch on their shoulder. So there's ISIS there. So United States knows that. In my opinion, West know that. But remember, West did the one experience and it was successful. If you remember in 2013, no, 2021 actually was August 2021. President Biden withdrew his forces and or American forces in Afghanistan and just handed Afghanistan to Taliban.
Mm.
So they handed to a our less evil version of Taliban, and that Taliban is fight Al Qaeda for them and fight ISIS for them because they have interests. And they saw that the experience of Afghanistan work is they believe it's the same experience in Syria works for them. They put the guy that's former uh, radical,
Mm.
former even Al Qaeda, former ICE. This guy will make the same let's say version of the Taliban for them. At one
Mm.
hand, it secure the area. It doesn't let the Iran will uh, pass the make it those the what they call the Shiite crescent again. It and also it makes the Western countries to be more relaxed. And just if you just to make sure we all on the same page, I don't believe European countries have any power or leverage over anything in
Mm.
the Middle East.
Mm.
And as we saw in the recent developments in the U.S. foreign policies, they don't have any power. They cannot exercise any leverage. The best they can do is just telling the U.S. to do this because we think is harm the United States.
Mm. So essentially, US thinks it can control Al-Sharaa, but where's the evidence? How do they know they can control him and that he's not going to
No,
go rogue?
they don't have a control. They don't have any evidence to control to think that they control Al Sharia. They also do not have any power over Al Sharia. The only person, only government, only entity they had power over Sharia is Turkey. So
Mm-hmm.
Turkey play a key role here. That's why they actually
Mm-hmm.
want to end the Kurdish entity there. And even if they didn't work, even if this test failed, United States will not lose much. They
Mm.
can they can ask the others to do the job for them in the Turkey or whatever you call it, or convince Kurdish against to do the job for them. But so far we know uh, the situation. All parties agreed. All parties except Kurdish and Israel agreed upon it.
Mm-hmm.
That we leave it like this. This is better for us.
Hmm. The one thing that people forget about the period of the so-called Daesh Caliphate is that it didn't stay in Syria and Iraq. A lot of these people outsourced their operations to Europe, and
Mhm.
some even moved to the United States and tried to cause damage there. So
Yeah.
ideological spread is not controlled by Turkey or by any particular. Once you let these people loose, once they start mm, exporting their ideology, there's no stopping them. So my question is, does the US not realize the long-term danger of not containing that? That they cannot simply stop it by thinking that they can kill a few ISIS fighters here and there, because they're not going to stay in Syria.
Yeah, I agree with you. As I said, they think they take a very short strategic steps. I don't think there's any deep thinking of this situation in Syria because they just want to temp like a as you say transitional. They want to see what's going on with the Sharia, especially
Hmm.
all this support for this guy, even though they know he has no control over many of those
Hmm.
uh, radical groups, especially the groups that they're under the control of Turkey. They are not under the control of Shara, and they even do not take any orders from him or do not listen to any orders from
Mm,
Syria. So you are right that the spreading the I mean, if Shara succeed, we expect that those he able to control those guys, but uh, it's this all depends on how he successfully able to overcome the internal issues with the other minorities. With Kurds, Kurd was the last one. They start with the Alawite.
mm-hmm,
They able to uh, silence them. They went with the Druze. The Israel supported them. They came to Kurdish, and Kurdish is the last resort. If Shara able to control Kurdish or to able to defeat Kurdish, so he has this image, this character that will make the Arabs rally behind him, and he probably able to defeat other
mm.
radical groups. But as you said, you cannot defeat the ideas. Ideas still there, and I mean, if we see at least every year the ISIS attack or radical attacks in the West. So I'm not sure what changed. I mean, we still see the same amount of anti-Western hatred, and the ISIS, they probably, as you say, take the different name and go to different places and do the same thing.
So let's talk about the civilians. What is the situation with the civilians? Because we are not getting any clear information from official sources. Who
Mhm.
is being displaced? Are there people being killed? What is the humanitarian situation right now? Where are the Kurds going? And can they really feel safe wherever they are going? Could you tell us about what is happening from the humanitarian and civilian angle?
So if you remember in Halab, when they attacked the Sheikh Maksud and other neighborhoods that Kurdish lived there historically,
Mm-hmm,
they displaced them, and several killed, several captured, and they showed and recorded them and humiliated them, especially women. And they even say in the videos, we will use them as the sex slaves and so forth. Same ideas as ISIS had. And also, so those Kurds displaced, they went to where there's other Kurdish area, like the Kamishli, like Hasaka, uh, and the and also if you observe it, like since yesterday, the Kobani, uh, the city that resists ISIS as the last, let's say, stronghold, last place to remain
mm-hmm,
outside the Daesh control or ISIS control during the 2014, 2015. So they that city now sieged. There's no electricity, there's no water, there's no internet. So my biggest fear is if Kurds do not agree with this government uh, has enough hatred that doing any large level of atrocities, it could be normalized. And remember, these people, they you can find the generation lived through this
mm-hmm,
civil war. So and as you see that the people who live through the wars, they need wars to satisfy them. So they know nothing except war. And since they saw like their friends, their family, their surrounding all disappear, so they don't have that much of, let's say, uh, emotional support not to carry out the large scale of atrocities. And we saw that the reaction, we saw the videos, we saw the hate level of the hatred we see. It's really scary. I mean, I know international community, especially United States, doesn't take this seriously, but imagine if Kurd just didn't have let's say, power. You saw what
mm-hmm.
happened in the Laziqiya and the Alawite area. You saw what happened in the Druze areas. So we will probably do the same thing.
Now, interestingly enough, the media was very present during the Syrian civil war, and there is a lot of coverage, and journalists were endangering themselves by going and getting kidnapped by various groups, including al-Sharaz group, Jabhat al-Nusra. But today we're not seeing a lot of international media presence on the ground. How do you explain that?
If I tell you, if I be very honest with you, because you cannot blame Jews for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the basic. And Middle East, they don't care about anything if you cannot blame Jews for that. If it's Jews not the part of it, if Israel is not part of it, so it doesn't matter. And Arabian countries historically they didn't take any significant stand to support Kurds. Kurds in Iraq went through the years of atrocities, including Anfal, including chemical attacks, and
Mm-hmm.
you didn't see any positive support from any Arabian country.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the what happened. And today you will see that the two major news outlet in the Middle East, Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya, they are extensively spreading misinformation about the Kurdish forces. That
Hmm.
Kurdish forces did that. Kurdish forces did that. Even there's a video that the Syrian militias group opened the door for the ISIS prisoners, and they talk Arabic, and you can recognize all of them.
Hmm.
Then Arabia and Al Jazeera say Kurdish SDF released the ISIS members.
Hmm.
So as I said, the only that and that also applies to the Western media. Western media, they especially American media, they have uh, a lot of uh, local, or let's say a lot of internal issues to focus on,
Hmm.
especially ICE. You see economic
Mm-hmm.
issue, so that made them busier. And for European, it's very surprising because we expected them uh, to keep the neutrality at least.
Hmm.
But even the France, with which SDF considered them the biggest supporter, was agreed to attacking the SDF. The only the only uh, the only party of that meeting in France didn't agree to attack Kurds was Israel,
Hmm.
and it's surprising because that's the only party you expect not to support Kurds because nobody, it's not their problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the only people you see, the only group you see there that thinks that this is strategically wrong is the one that you expected the less. Even yesterday in the Security Council meeting, you only see one group, one state, one country thinks about the diverse nature of the
Hmm.
Syria, different ethnic groups, different religious groups. You have to keep it. You have to secure that if you want to have a good image outside. But without any of them, without at least respecting that diverse nature of the Syria, you still have a lot of international supports for Syrian government, especially in Europe and United States. It's very
So
surprising.
do you see that there is a regional return to pan-Arabism, or is it more that Islamism is rising up again, or is it some combination of both?
Um, the Arabism and Islamism are intertwined. There's no
Hmm.
difference between them. So
Hmm.
anytime, even the most secure Islamic Arabic let's say, ruler or system, they still relied heavily on Islam. The
Hmm.
Bashar Assad's slogan to let's say undermine Kurds was how they can speak on the language other than language of Quran.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much intertwined. But uh, the main, in my opinion, the main strategy is to contain Iran. And
Hmm.
to do that, they want to do everything possible to cut the relationship or cut the tie between Hezbollah and Iran. And
Mm-hmm.
the only way they can do it is Syria.
Hmm.
So they will do everything possible to make sure Syria remains not Iranian player anymore.
Hmm.
And you can see that obviously why Iraqi, uh, let's say Iraqi politicians got very nervous, especially with handing them the ISIS fighters, relocate them in Iraq, because they don't trust the Syrian government to keep the ISIS and
Hmm.
under their control. It should be obvious how this government, how the West support the government that they don't even trust them to have
Hmm.
ISIS prisoners.
So the strange thing for me is that amidst all of this, al-Sharaa passed a decree supposedly supporting the making Kurdish languages official alongside Arabic, supposedly supporting all this cultural Kurdish autonomy and identity and so forth. How does this cultural gesture align with these physical attacks, including on civilian institutions, and this ethnic cleansing, forcing out families from Kurdish majority neighborhoods into other cities and essentially ghettoizing them? How isn't there a huge discrepancy into between this degree and what happens on the ground?
Definitely, let's say the hypocrisy, but just remember the decree is nothing. Decree is not the
Mm-hmm,
constitutional article. It's not the constitutional
mm-hmm,
amendment. So making 100 decrees, it doesn't change much on the ground. And as I said from the beginning, there's a tremendous level of the hatred. I mean, if you see I mean, you cannot see like a Druze fighter when they kill let's say Shari's army or Shari's fighters go and mutilate their body. No does you can see Kurdish do that. But you see the Syrian army do that. So it's a level of the hatred is unacceptable. I mean, I know for fact as a person who lived through the civil war, I know this is dangerous. This is like a red flag.
mm-hmm,
Uh, you cannot prevent that with the words. That's why Kurdish want to have a territorial, uh,
mm-hmm,
let's say federalism. They should stay in their own territory, and
mm-hmm,
they keep their own army, their own
mm-hmm,
forces. They don't, because the minority cannot attack the majority. Syrian army is much more
mm-hmm,
stronger. So the what Kurdish asked it was territorial federalism, especially in Kobani, Afrin, and Hasaka. I think it's unlikely to be achieved, but
mm-hmm,
I think it's the grave mistake because just now you can see there's still the siege on Kobani. So if
mm-hmm.
you intention if to give Kurdish rights, why you sieging the city that entire its population are Kurds?
So what
That
I
doesn't make
think
sense.
in a huge humanitarian catastrophe, and what is the official Syrian position? How are they explaining these sieges? What is their claim? What are they trying to accomplish by attacking civilians? According to their own comments, because we are not even hearing what they're saying about this.
Oh, they don't say nothing. They
Mm-hmm,
actually twist the narrative. That's the biggest thing because every media outliers you get the information from them, Al Jazeera and Arabia and the Syrian outliers,
mm-hmm,
and from them you cannot see what even the Kobani is sieged. They don't tell you that. That's not their concern. They will not they hide this from you, just like
mm-hmm,
how they hide they wear the actors or who released ISIS fighters. They will not tell you that,
mm-hmm,
and neither the any Arabian news organizations. So you don't
mm-hmm,
get that information. Actually, the Kurdish, the red person, or I think that what they call, they had started collecting donations and foods for at least for the Hasaka area.
Mhm,
And there's also another organization they called the Barzani Foundation Charity.
mhm,
They were the first who able to go to that area to deliver food, at least food or essentials. But Kobani doesn't get anything. Even today, former President Masoud Barzani said that this is a huge situation and we cannot access to it. So
hmm.
since that the entire this is surrounded by Turkey and the Syria, you cannot have access to Kobani. And
So the,
there's nobody, forgive me, there's also no any uh, crying about the humanitarian situation. There's not even an issue, not
hmm,
even for European, not even for United States, not even for neighboring countries, except for Kurds who live in Iraq.
hmm.
They are the only one who see the situation and started uh, at least providing some basics.
Has there been any efforts to get this information to U.S. policymakers, the basically Congress members, and the humanitarian organizations in the U.S.?
I believe they already, as far as I know, they already contacted the most senators. I know Kurdish community here are very active.
Hmm.
I know they did uh, a campaign sending all the congressmen and women and also representatives in Congress electronic emails tell them what the situation are. And also we know that Masoud Barzani, the Prime Minister of Iraq, was in Davos a couple of days ago, and he likely to met with Americans and Europeans and told them what the situation is, how the situation is. But you see that they able to give that deal to Al Shara. So I don't think the politicians they pay much attention. I mean, even the changes of the Americans' perspective, which the Tom Barak changed his view a little bit, especially he was in Erbil yesterday. It's all because the Kurds said no. That's the only reason because they said no, we are not gonna submit or we are not gonna give up
Hmm.
everything because we don't know what you're gonna do
Hmm.
or we don't think we deserve to be treated like that because we did everything by our own selves. So either way, uh, the European either even at least politician we see some voices uh, that bring that concern even in the Turkish parliament. We see some voices here there, but as the official statement by governments we didn't see much even from the President Macron, which Kurdish in Syria expected to be their their only hope.
Why do you think France feels so pressured to stay silent? After all, they have every reason to challenge the Trump administration on this and many other issues, and they would win from being seen as an alternative center of gravity, external power center in Syria. So, what is it that's preventing France from going alone? It's not like they have a
They
wonderful
they
relationship with Turkey.
they don't want to have issues with the President Trump. That's the main thing.
Hmm.
They want to avoid any uh, conflicts, any confrontation. That's what we see. Even though even Italy, which they support Kurdistan, they showed their concern,
Hmm.
yet they didn't say much. And Italy is one of the opposition to President Trump's tariff, President Trump's treatment of European countries.
Hmm.
So they do not want any uh, conflicts. And Kurdish is stateless people. It's
Hmm.
easy to sell them. To be
Hmm.
honest, I know it's painful for someone like me who born and raised Kurd, but it's easiest thing is to sell Kurds or
Hmm.
betray them.
So we are seeing this humanitarian disaster unfold with no consequence and no coverage. And so, given the situation, what is likely to happen next? I mean, there is like, what makes anyone think that it will stop with the siege? I mean, is there
It
a
doesn't stop.
plan for preserving political and cultural autonomy in the long run past surviving these next few days? What about the issues of integration and citizenship rights and cultural protection? And given this current situation, what is to stop these individuals from engaging in mass atrocities and not just displacement and not just a siege?
Nothing definitely stops them. Nothing definitely uh, will even make them to not think about that, because as I said, the especially the level of hatred is very significant, and it's dangerous. But sorry, I don't think that the Kurds will accept
Mm-hmm,
that level of the integration that provided by the central government. I mean, it would be a suicide,
mm-hmm,
especially letting the same power, the same let's say uh, group of people rule the cities, rule your cities. That's one thing I don't expect that they can accept that. I think that the goal is to run their own area and keep their own forces, but they will be part of the Syrian government, Syrian country. They do not they do not separate. I'm sorry. So that's the main goal, or the main strategy they have to prevent any massacre, any mass, uh, let's say, uh, mass attack, or I'm not gonna say it's gonna be ethnic cleansing, but the level of hatred is extremely dangerous.
mm-hmm.
I mean, the
Well,
most European people don't see that. Most Americans don't see that. But I mean, you saw they when even they don't let you in peace even after they kill you. After that, they will still uh, cut your bread, or mutilate you, or burn you alive.
mm-hmm.
So, so I think if Kurd is able to achieve that territorial, let's say, territorial, let's say autonomy, not say federal, because I think the federation is the red line for Turkey, but at least they should have some kind of political autonomy. That's the only way they, in my opinion, they will able to prevent any further atrocities.
You mentioned previously that some of the Arab tribes attacked the SDF and there was basically abandoned this structure. So, first of all, what was the nature of the dispute? Why did they turn on them? And second, are these all the Arab tribes, or only some of them who ended up in this situation, or are some of them still with supporting SDF?
No, no, like if you have 100 tribes, 99 of them left.
Oh,
Not just left, they actually attacked them
mm-hmm,
without knowing. They
mm-hmm,
didn't know. SDF didn't even realize they were under attack. The reason for that is just the ethnic war.
mm-hmm,
And the ethnic war, you cannot make the cross ethnic appeals. It
mm-hmm.
always fail. I am sorry for the situation, and I wish the ideology that SDF believe it work, because as a minority, I want we have peace with each other. That's the
Mm-hmm.
whole point. But the reality tell us other thing. The ethnic identity was extremely strong, and that made it impossible for those tribes after the
Hmm.
al-Shara called them
Hmm.
to not join. So
Hmm.
they just did what the uh, Sunni government told them.
But were they promised something specific, or was it just an ideological call?
No, there's no specific anything.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just the ideological, it was an ethnic call. And there might be some religious reason because SDF is more secular.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, the main, as you can see from those videos published by those tribemen, you can see that they don't accept Kurdish power. They don't accept
Mm-hmm.
they want to be part of the United Arabian Syria.
Mm-hmm. But what about the ones who were actually serving in SDF forces? What happened?
They joined the Syrian army.
Hmm. So they left.
That- Yeah, they even attacked the SDF, like the same
Hmm.
group that used to be the same, let's say, battalions. They attacked the SDF.
So we are seeing also the issue against women, specifically about the mistreatment of the Kurdish women and the abduction of the women fighters and all these things that are happening. And I'm curious about the role of women's rights organization and all these other various people around the world who were touting the role of the Kurdish women fighters in against ISIS, and who made all these documentaries and all these things. Where are all these people now?
As I just to make sure, I know it sounds probably odd for someone like me, an educator, uh, say that. But as I told you, if you cannot blame Jews, you
Hmm.
cannot make people pay attention. You saw Iranian government killed more than 30,000 people,
Hmm.
civilians. You didn't see any protest. You didn't see uh, any uh, uh, any reaction. And you saw the Jinjian Azadi, our Zan Zindagi Azadi, woman life freedom. That
Hmm.
movement was basically feminist movement, and they didn't
Hmm.
get any attention from the outside the Iran and Kurdish region. They didn't even get the attention from Middle Eastern countries, even Arabs and so forth. So European countries and the Western countries, especially the United States, they do not pay attention to anything if they cannot connect to Israel,
Hmm.
because most institutions, most intellectual organizations are pretty much think that what once Edward Said said is true, that
Hmm.
Middle Eastern cannot be oppressive against each other. The
Hmm.
only Western can be oppressive. So there's some voices there and here and there. I'm not gonna say, I'm not make a generalization. There are voices. There are some feminists. There are some let's say authors, or let's say like Levi Strauss, the gentleman from the French. I forgot his actual name. So
Another
he
Henri Levy.
yes. So he's the
Mhm.
one probably he knows, for instance. But if you saw that much of atrocity against the woman, especially against the oppressed woman, you will probably expect a lot of reaction from Western uh, society and media. But you don't see that, as I told you, because the notion that Arabs can oppress Kurdish is not something comprehensible.
Hmm. So we are actually returning to more familiar Middle Eastern dynamics, something that there was a very brief respite from in the last 10 years, but that has actually reversing itself. And
Yeah.
so how does all this, you know, the collapse of SDF as a counterterrorism unit, do you expect it to have an impact on Iraq and on Jordan and other countries who have benefited from this cooperation? Do you think they will fully rely on Al-Sharaa to keep them safe from these infiltrations?
At 100% Iraq doesn't.
Mm-hmm,
The first day that the Arabian tribes attacked the SDF, the Iraqis sent their army there to the border. So because if you see the videos, there are fighters and the Syrian army. They are calling to go to Karbala.
mm-hmm,
Karbala is the one of the holiest city for Shia.
mm-hmm,
So an Iraqi army also know they cannot let the border be crossed because anyone cross that border, they are Sunnis, and Sunnis are uh, anti-Shias, and the main city is Mosul. Mosul is the third largest city in the Iraq. So basically, they do not trust Shara, and they never trusted him. I
mm-hmm,
don't think Jordan trusts Shara.
mm-hmm,
But the Jordan is lucky because Druses are closer to him.
mm-hmm,
There's no much this desert. There's no much let's
mm-hmm,
say uh, cities and towns is there. But Israel 100%, in my opinion, at least as far as I know, as far as their officials say, they don't trust the government, and that's why they rely heavily on their own defense to prevent any uh, shortcomings or any surprises. When
mm-hmm.
it comes to Kurdish definitely not. There's nothing Kurdish they're gonna trust. Even the SDF, or we call them Kurdish western part of Kurdistan. They have no trust in this regime.
Mm. So, given the current situation, are there are there any viable political or diplomatic avenues left for Kurdish representation if they lack this military leverage?
Yes, that's the goal. So the SDF their main goal is to keep their army in their own area to protect
Mm-hmm,
their own people. So if they able to, we see that the at least extending the ceasefire is a good thing
mm-hmm,
because we know the civilians you cannot save them, right? Especially in Kobani, there's nowhere they can go. In Afrin, there's no way they can go. But the goal is to keep their armed force to protect themselves. And if I think if Kurd is able to convince the politicians in U.S. to convince President Trump, uh, they will be able, Kurds in Syria, they will able to get some kind of the autonomy with keeping
mm-hmm.
their forces, keeping their let's say administrative powers. Especially, I think the main idea is Hasaka region will be under the Kurds, and Kobani and Afrin. So far, I'm not sure, but that was the goal as far as I know.
Do you believe that there may be, for instance, a Mediterranean coalition concerned about Turkish reach and the expansion of counterterrorism that could become a more serious player in the Levant as well? For instance, Israel, Greece, Cyprus, or some, with various potential other actors in play.
I mean, it's the Syrian is a transitional
Mm-hmm,
uh, stage. I mean, in 2 3 years, we will probably, if Shara able to consolidate his power,
mm-hmm,
and as we see, he is modernized. If he able to control the other ethnic groups and also other uh, uh, militias within under his supervision, he will probably able to prevent, at least make another Afghanistan. So making another Afghanistan means they will rule very uh, traditionally. They will be very Islamic. They will be applying the Sharia law it will be bad for the Christians and, let's say, Jews, or whoever are minority, religious minority. But that doesn't mean they will uh, they will not be accepted by the West. We know the West accepted
Mm-hmm.
Taliban, and it's more likely they will accept the Syrian too. And they will do everything that to make it succeed, especially Arabian country.
Do you believe that there could be an axis between Afghanistan and Syria and other Islamist actors in the region?
You mean they will be a source of the problem for the area?
Sort of a joint force.
No, no. I think that the Islamists in the Middle East, they learned the lesson very, very hard. They learned that if they try to uh, do the Islamic way, they will get crushed. Like
Mm-hmm.
ISIS, Jabhat Nusra, let's say Al Qaeda, they are not acceptable. But you can be a statesman
Hmm.
with the beard and have a Sharia law, but play the game. They don't care what you do to your own people.
Hmm. So, do you think that 10 years from now, if things stay the way they are, the region will be back to being Islamicized and we will see the politics of the 1970s return?
No, no, there's no be return to the secular systems. It's beyond any imagination, especially with the social media ability to control people, ability
Mm-hmm.
to indoctrinate people. The region will be more religious.
Mm-hmm.
But the extreme view of Islam, or more likely in Syria, will be moderate in
Mm-hmm.
term their anti-Western perspective, attacking the Western interests.
Hmm.
But they will internally more likely be more traditional. They, as I said, they will be mimicking Afghanistan's system. They will be
Hmm.
extremely anti-woman, extremely anti-minority, extremely anti-freedom, anti-education. But at the same time, they will not attack West.
Hmm.
You don't see Afghanistan or Taliban attacking any Western power,
Mm-hmm.
but they are extremely traditional. And Iran, as I said, everything is done here is to prevent Iran to spread again,
Hmm.
because Iran is the direct threat to the Israel, and also direct threat to the Gulf countries. So preventing Iran is by empowering Sharia. It doesn't matter who this guy is, as long as he doesn't attack us, and he keep Iran in check.
Hmm. What are the chances that Shara fails and he collapses and more
The,
radical forces take root?
it's very hard not to imagine,
Hmm.
especially with as far as I know, as far as I read this officially 27 groups, and some of them are too radical. You will expect the ISIS be the moderate, according, like,
Hmm.
compared to them. I
Hmm.
mean, there's a lot of radical groups, and as far as in my opinion, as far as the Sharia listens to the Turkey, Turkey will help him to consolidate his power.
Hmm.
By this, I mean he will get help when he needs to counter any internal rivalries.
Hmm.
So, in my opinion, the chances for Sharia to be replaced is low at this point.
Hmm. So will Syria just become a colony of Turkey?
It kind of will be, yeah, uh, will be very much controlled by Turkey. By this, I mean politically and economically as well.
Hmm.
At least by this regime.
what happens if the Islamists and the ultranationals in Turkey collapse and
Oh,
Turkey?
that depends who comes to power. So if the nationals come to power,
Mm-hmm,
Bakhchali and his team, we will expect them to keep Turkey, Syria in check, but they will not be that involved as they involved today.
mm-hmm,
So that means there's other parties will be uh, let's say engaging. Saudi Arabia more likely. Qatar is investing tremendously in Syria, economically, politically. They do everything they can do to keep him in power.
mm. So regardless of the short-term outcomes, the long-term prospects appear to be grim.
Hmm?
The long-term outcomes appear to be grim, no matter which way things go.
Yeah, at least for those who hoped for secular, democratic
Mm-hmm,
future Middle East, no, that's gone. That's beyond imagination. For those who thought of the human rights, women rights, it's not, it's done. We don't expect that to happen unless we pass a decade or more to have people like Iranian people see how the Islamic
mm-hmm,
system is corrupted or how it's bad, and then after that they will start like a revolting against the system. Remember, the Islamic as an alternative for the systems in the Middle East was always existed, especially during the
mm-hmm,
mandate. The
mm-hmm,
only reason nationalism won because of the Arabs' experience with the Ottoman Empire.
mm-hmm,
Otherwise, we know the Islamists were they always an option, and failure of the secular or let's say nationalist regimes in the Middle East basically gave uh, a legitimacy for the Islamists to rule, and they will rule. Uh, at least in Syria, they will rule. Unlikely in Egypt and Jordan, they will not let this happen. But in the country like Syria, they want to rule because they want to counter Hezbollah and they counter, let's say, Iran. And it's more likely for Sharia's troops to attack Hezbollah than to attack Israel. So I think that will be what they want.
mm.
Yeah.
What will happen to the Arab liberals? Not that there's many of them, but the ones that were there and who wanted elections and not, and a
They
former
gone.
HTS.
They
Mm-hmm,
gone. They failed because first of all the West didn't support them anymore.
mm-hmm,
Secondly, the as I said, Islam, especially with the Al Jazeera and especially Al Jazeera, uh, they able to give the Islam as the only option for those dictators. So
mm-hmm,
if I mean I am very familiar with this channel and what they do and how they try to recruit our spread Islam. Um,
mm-hmm,
so what made the people in that region to think of Islam as the only solution. And remember, in the Syria,
mm-hmm,
the people was being killed. They had nothing left except the thinking they will go into the heaven in
mm-hmm,
this hell they live it. They were expecting even if we live in the hell, at least we go when we die we go to live in heaven. So that's it made the religion very strong. And those voices that used to be uh, heard in the Middle East, especially in Syria, we only existed 3 to 5 years from the protests in Syria. After that, the Islamists they just replaced them.
mm-hmm.
And the one reason was Iran and Syrian relying on the sectarian forces. So they relied on Shia, and that made the other part rely on Sunni. So
Well, until there is a very serious international effort to put an end to this dynamic and to have serious mass information efforts that can counter Al Jazeera and other such instruments, I don't see anything changing.
they,
That
they
needs to
tried
be.
they tried couple they tried couple channels. I mean, Iraq tried several, but no.
Mhm. It hasn't.
No, they so far Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya are very strong, and they basically work on that narrative. And
Hmm.
I mean, I know as a person I'm not religious, so it's not the world I imagine or I hope for. But uh, if you look around, even in the US and the Europe, the religion came back very strongly because of the failure of the liberal
Hmm.
uh, promises, for instance.
Well, the religion that I see rising in the US today is not really religion, it's more religiosity. It's a focus on very external markers of religion, not on the spiritual and deep engagement of religion. It's very much focused on these external determinants, not really on the deep understanding of religion. So if this is
So,
any anything similar to what's happening, this is not so much as real religious deep thinking as religiosity and just a system of
you
mass
you
control.
you mean you want to say that is the Christian nationalism,
Yes, what I'm seeing
and
is
it's
a lot of people who don't understand, they're not scholars of religion, they're not deep spiritual thinkers, they're not humanitarians and philanthropists, they're just people who want to make political slogans out of religion and
yeah.
demonstrate how religious they are without necessarily engaging with the spiritual teachings of how that's supposed to make the world a better place.
Don't you think it's the Shara and his group is doing the same?
Yes, I
Same.
think it's exactly the same.
Yeah,
It's not so much religion as a religiosity.
yeah.
It's a political
They and
political
yes,
movement mask with religious flavor.
yes, that is especially as I told you from the beginning, and the Arabic nationalism is pretty much intertwined with religion. So, but there's little left for not being religious.
Well, thank you so much for this very gloomy but honest look into what we are facing, and I think it's important to understand the future that is being laid out today for those people who are still asleep at the wheel and who believe that somehow all problems will resolve themselves without any intervention. That is definitely not the case. I think the time to stop going along with these trends is now. It's already late. But I do think that at least being aware of where it's all going is extremely important if you don't want to wake up one day surrounded by the world you don't recognize or understand.
Yeah, I agree.
And And thank you so much for your important contributions to this. For those who
You're welcome.
joined us today, we'll be back next week, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. as usual. What the Washington Outsider Report on the Coalition Radio. And thank you to Professor Tarkhani for joining us this evening. Thanks.
Thank you.